Alright, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to be showing you exactly what to look for and what to inspect when you're using a mower for the first time. So that's what you need to know. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so using a mower like this is really a very simple process, but there are a number of things you're going to need to look for when you're using a mower for the first time or when it has not been used in a while. So we're going to go through an overall point inspection, and I'm going to show you what to look for to make sure your mower is running in top priority and is going to be running for a while to come. So let's get started. First of all, what we're going to check, one of the most important things to check is the oil. Now, most mowers like this are going to have some kind of an oil dipstick. So this one's real obvious, it's right here on the side. All you're going to do to check this is you're going to unscrew the oil cap, you're going to pull it out, and you're going to check the dipstick. Now, the dipstick here is going to show you exactly how much oil is supposed to be in the engine. There's a groove section. That's really the top of that groove section is as high as the oil should go. So if the oil is above that, you might have too much oil in the engine. If there is no oil on this stick, well, then you got a problem because there's no oil in the engine. And then the color of the oil. So you want to make sure the oil has a little bit of honey in it. What that means is that it still has a little bit of the yellow, the factory yellowish color that comes with it. If it's all black or if it's really dark gray, you're going to need to do an oil change quickly before you start to mess up your engine. So that's the first thing to inspect to make sure you have the proper amount of oil. So one thing I always do is I always pull it out, I wipe it off a little bit, I reinsert it into the engine, screw it all the way down, and then pull it out a second time just to make sure that it hasn't been flopped to the side. You can see here the oil is a little bit dark, but it's not too bad, so we're going to stick with that for now. This has got another week or two before we're going to have to do an oil change on it. So that is one of the most important things, is the oil in an engine like this. The next thing to check is the air filter. Now the air filter is on the opposite side of the engine on one of these machines. You'll usually see some kind of a box, some kind of a square protrusion from the engine. That is usually the air filter. So undoing these is really quite simple. You simply push down on the tabs, you pop the front out, and then you've got your air filter. Now, how do you check an air filter? Well, it's really pretty simple. What you're going to want to do is hold it up and see if you can see light coming through the air filter. If you can't see any light, it means that thing is dark and it needs to be replaced. If you can see light, you might be okay, but you still might want to clean it out. A good way to clean it out is to simply knock it off on the tire. That's going to knock a lot of the loose dust and dirt out. Now, if a lot of stuff comes out, you're probably going to want to replace your air filter quickly. So once you've done that, you're simply going to check. Once you've checked that your air filter is clear, you're going to insert it back in the housing. You're going to put the housing back on, click it into place. Alright, so now we've checked our air filter and our oil. Those are the two very important things. Next, you're going to want to make sure that your fuel cutoff is actually in the on position. So you can see here on a lot of these they have a fuel cutoff. So the tab for the fuel cutoff needs to be in line with the fuel line. If it's across the fuel line, that means that no fuel is getting from the gas tank into the engine, which means, guess what, your mower isn't going to start. So, want to make sure that that's in line. That's a real simple check that a lot of people overlook. They wonder why their mower isn't running. Well, it's because you got the fuel shut off. Simple as that. So, once you've made sure that that's on, next thing you're going to want to do is actually inspect the underside of the engine. Alright guys, so on a mower like this, it's very important that you flip the machine upwards with the air filter on the top. This is very important because if you flip it with the air filter on the bottom, the oil from the engine will spill in and ruin your air filter and it'll just make a whole big mess. But if you flip with the air filter on the top, you'll be just fine. So once I made sure the air filter's on the top, I'm just going to grab the deck and I'm going to flip this guy up on its side. Now, what do we got? Well, now we can see the underside of the machine. So what you're looking for down here is big clumps of grass all clogged up. You can see I got a little bit of grass in here, but nothing too bad. It's not clogging anything, it's not blocking anything. Next, you're going to want to make sure that your blade is decently sharp. So I sharpened these blades about a week and a half ago, so they're still decently sharp, no problems there. Hey, if you want to know how to remove and sharpen a mower blade like this, hit the link. That's going to take you to a video that will show you exactly how to remove and sharpen this blade, but I'm not going to get into that here. So once you've checked to make sure that this blade isn't bent, that the blade is decently sharp, it doesn't have to be razor sharp, but it's got to have a decent edge on it to cut the grass through. You're going to want to make sure that your chute here isn't blocked. So on mowers like this, they often have a bag on the back of them. And so lots of times what will happen is that'll get clogged up with wet grass. And so an easy way to check is simply lift up the rear here and check to make sure there's no big clump of grass blocking your way. So once you've checked that, you make sure that's clear, make sure there's nothing messed up underneath the machine, you're just going to want to look at your pull string. A lot of times these pull strings get worn out, especially up here where they connect to the machine, and when you pull them they snap and they just make a big old mess in there. So you want to make sure that your pull string is decent, that it doesn't have any big wear tear marks in it like it's going to shatter soon or like it's going to tear soon. Once you've inspected that, you're going to want to look and make sure that all 4 tires are on the same setting. Now, this is important because a lot of times people will mow with the one side lower or one side higher than the other. What happens is when you're cutting the grass, that's going to cut at an angle and it's just going to make really poor looking lines in the grass and it's going to look unprofessional and honestly it's going to damage your lawn. So what you want to do is make sure that all these tabs are on the same setting. So if I want to set them right here, I'm going to set this one, make sure that that's on the middle tab here. Now, then I'm going to look over, make sure this one's on the center tab, and right over here, make sure these are on the center tab. Now, let's get a closer look so you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say tabs. Alright guys, so you can see here on the tire there are multiple depth settings that these tires can be set to, and it's important you make sure that all the tires are set to the same one. So when I say center tab, there's a center notch right here. That's the notch that I'm going to want to set all the tires on. So I'm going to set this one up to that tab, that notch. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make sure that one is set on the center, and I'm going to do the same thing with the rear tires. Alright guys, well that's about it. That's how you do a quick overall inspection, safety and efficiency inspection on one of these push mowers that you use on a daily basis. These mowers will go forever, but you got to make sure you treat them right, and you got to make sure you're upkeeping your machine or it's going to fall apart. So hey, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Do me a huge favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I got all kinds of other videos, but it really helps when you guys help me out. So hey, I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned.